to Dix Hills for New York Apple Corps hockey. What we believe to be the final game of the season for the Apple Corps. It is actually a league playoff game. The Long Island Amateur Hockey League half-season playoff between the Apple Corps and the New York Rebels of Dix Hills coming up in just a couple of minutes. It's certainly not the same Apple Corps team that ended the season in November due to a number of reasons. A number of the players on this regular season team are not here, some of which are due to health, some of which are due to traffic tonight getting out here, and some of which are due to players leaving for different travel teams. Right now, the Apple Corps have 8 skaters and goaltender Blake Richard, and that is it to take on this team, the Rebels, who beat the Apple Corps twice when they had all of their players, who finished #1 in the league in the regular season, and who ended the season undefeated. So this seems like a true David versus Goliath test right here, as we are glad to be back with you here for Apple Corps hockey. Among those not in the lineup tonight, Brendan Murphy and Connor Brooks now play for the Westchester Express, and the rule here in New York State is that you can play for your high school team and one travel team, and so the Apple Corps have lost Murphy and Brooks to the Express. Others not in uniform tonight: Spencer Abrams out with a stomach bug. Charlie Della Penna may join this game in progress. He is caught in traffic. Dylan Sullivan is not here, nor is Kieran Sullivan. And Ian Tum is here, but I don't think he is in uniform. So I think he plays for the Express. So this is definitely a David versus Goliath situation here for the Apple Corps as they take on this New York Rebels team that finished the regular season atop the league standings after 18 games. They finished 17-0-1 in the 18 games of the Long Island Amateur Hockey League. They beat the Apple Corps twice, 8-4 here in the season's second game, and then 6-2, a pretty spirited game up in Brewster. That was the game you may remember where Jack Lagan suffered the concussion at the end of the first period. Lagan is one of the 8 skaters here tonight, so it's good to see him back. The Apple Corps will start with Jack Kiola playing left wing, Stephen Mount. Rather, that's not Stephen Mount taking the opening draw. That is Carson Brunko taking the opening draw. Stephen Mount out there as well. It's Brunko playing it into Rebel territory on a delayed offside. Now the Rebels will march it out. This is basically a Tier 1 team playing down at the Tier 2 level as Tim Duffy goes in for it. Circles in front, has plenty of room, and the shot was blocked. Skitters through the goal mouth, and Jack Kiola clears it out. Frequent whistles here are going to be the benefit of the Apple Corps if they're to have any chance against this Tier 1 team. Played in by Chris Lynch. Now on the left side, it's Will Tricorico for Dylan Newitz in the corner, and he sends it through the goal mouth. There's Carson Brunko, and of the 8 players, Carson Brunko has had not a team to play for. So he is rusty. Here's a shot by Stephen Mount that's stopped by goaltender Chris Stoffers for the Rebels. They're just underway, and the puck is played out. There should be an icing call. No, it's not. Yes, it is icing against the Rebels, so the play will come back down. Not many substitutes coming over the bench here for the Apple Corps as we are just underway from Dix Hills. Carson Brunko, you may remember, was supposed to play for Somers North Salem Co-op, but they dissolved before the season began, leaving Brunko with nowhere to go. So he is pretty rusty. And again, any disadvantage against this Tier 1 team is just like a climbing a mountain. Here's a long saucer pass that's broken up by Robert Paradiso. Brunco goes forward in the corner, chases it down with Chris Biava of the Rebels. Around to the near side, that's Aiden Rossi. Play it out of the center ice. Here comes Ryan Matthews into the offensive zone with a shot that goes over the top of the net, rolls along the shelf, and Jack Lagan can't catch up to it. Here's Gavin Golisano. Held in by Chris Biava. Now Tricarico at the point. This Apple Corps team, a talented bunch, but not a very big bunch tonight. They have only 8 skaters in uniform, and that'll be an icing call against the Apple Corps. And even those icings are going to help. They need every play stoppage they can get here against a team that has got its full complement of players. And remember, in the half-season format, the Apple Corps play it the way you would, let's say, in Connecticut, where you play the half-season, try to play all your games, make a clean break. But you don't have to do that. And I believe the Rebels have kind of mixed their games around the high school schedules. So they have seen each other more often and practiced together. This Apple Corps team has done none of that. And now they're undermanned as Colin McGraw hands it off to Stephen Mount, who clears the zone. Mount tries to sneak behind the defense, gets in there, skitters one just wide of the net. Puck loose in the offensive zone. Mount is there, but he couldn't tee it up. And Golisano tried to hold the line, but it's played away by Josh Plotkin of the Rebels. And he will ice the puck. And again, the Apple Corps will be helped out by a play stoppage with 3 minutes gone by here in the opening period from Dix Hills and no score. So the Apple Corps are down to just 8 players. They haven't practiced together. They haven't played together since the 9-0 loss to the New York Stars in Brooklyn in February. Tim Duffy had the stick knocked out of his hands. That'll probably be a penalty against the Apple Corps. And so the first special team situation of the night will belong to the Rebels. So now the Apple Corps down to basically 7 skaters with Stephen Mount in the box, 4 of whom will be on the ice trying to kill the penalty. Face off in the offensive zone. This is Francesco Coppola losing the draw, and the Apple Corps are able to clear it out. Killing the penalty are Fada and Kiola with Paradiso and I believe Colin McGraw. And here comes Francesco Coppola with a head of steam into the offensive zone. Left side, stops, looks for some help, hands it back to Chris Biava. Daniel McClellan. Puck loose in the corner. Tim Duffy goes for it there. Chris Biava now has it on the left side. Coppola, who scored a goal in the first period against the Apple Corps in the game in Brewster, winds and fires. I believe that was shouldered away by Blake Richard. Here's a centering pass in front, and it's knocked in by Duffy. So Tim Duffy, a power play goal, and it is 1-0 in favor of the Rebels. We have played just about 4 minutes. Certainly don't want to hand another advantage to a team as talented as this one, 17-0-1 in the regular season. But the top 3 teams in this league, well, here comes Stephen Mount off the draw. We'll get to that point in a moment. Puck loose at the point, held in by the Apple Corps, just missed hitting the roof as Golisano. The puck remains alive, and it's taken by the Rebels, and out they come. Whipping it in, Aiden Rossi is there. So Tim Duffy's goal makes it 1-0 here, power play goal 4 minutes in. And back for it is Robert Paradiso. Apple Corps need to conserve as much energy as they can with so many players not here. Here's a shot, Blake Richards with a stick save. Blake Richards been playing for the Westchester Express lately since the end of the high school season. So he is certainly in razor-sharp shape. Here's a nifty move by Ryan Matthews, and Blake Richard stopped that, and I believe the net came off, and so we'll get a whistle. Two good saves here in the early going for Blake Richard. At some point, we expect to see Charlie Della Penna of Fox Lane High School. He is caught in traffic. The traffic getting out here to Long Island was absolutely horrendous. We barely made it in time. And the Apple Corps clear the puck out as Chris Biava takes over. Here's Dylan Newitz coming into the offensive end on the right side. Right there by Paradiso. What a solid season Paradiso had for this team. Here's a shot by the Rebels, are stopped twice by Blake Richard. And the Apple Corps clear it out. Here comes Jack Kiola of the Wooster School. Right side for a shot by Brunko that is stopped by Chris Stoffers and held with 9.5 minutes to go here in the opening period from Dix Hills. 1-0, the Rebels lead it. The top three teams in this league were way ahead of everybody else. That would be this Rebels team, the New York Stars of Coney Island, and the Long Island Edge. But there had to be 4 teams in the playoff, and somebody had to be the 4th team, and by virtue of that, oh, by the way, win against the Brooklyn Aviators in Brewster in January, played on the outdoor rink. By virtue of that, there's a save by Richard. By virtue of that, the Apple Corps are the 4th team, as Dylan Newitz takes down a Apple Corps defender. I think that was Golisano. Centering pass skitters through the goal mouth. Here's Dylan Newitz down low to Duffy, and that shot went through the goal mouth wide. You can see the Rebels getting very comfortable here as the Apple Corps have to ice the puck to stop play with 8:47 left to go, and there aren't too many changes that they can make with just 8 skaters here. Originally, we were led to believe that the conclusion of the season in November would result in the top 2 teams making it into a half-season New York State championship, and maybe that happened. Of course, the Apple Corps would not have made it that far. We did not know until recently that there was a 4-team league playoff here in Tier 2 AA for 16U, but there is, and so the Edge and the Stars will have to play each other, and the winner of that game presumably will play the winner of this game. Here comes Stephen Mount into the offensive zone, down 1-0 of the Apple Corps with 8:15 to go here in the opening period. Gavin Golisano gloved it down, got met there by Dylan Vigna, and the puck sent into the New York Rebel zone. Here's a steal by Jack Lagan, hands it to Carson Brunko, but he had trouble getting his feet moving. Now it's Chris Biava for the Rebels. This shot goes, I believe it was deflected up and over the glass. Gavin Golisano plays it around. And Jack Lagan gets into it there with Drew O'Connor. O'Connor has the puck behind the Apple Corps net, plays it around. Robert Paradiso can't tee it up, but it's in the neutral zone for Carson Brunko, or rather for Jack Lagan. Missed connecting with Brunko, and you can see that little bit of rust by Brunko there, as he has not really played competitive hockey since the end of the Apple Corps season in November, and that puck goes up into the protective netting, and so we'll get a play stoppage here with 7:14 to go in period number 1. 1-0, the Rebels lead it on a power play goal by Tim Duffy. The faceoff will be in the Apple Corps zone. Apple Corps finished the league season 8-9-1 for 17 points, and it was that 8th win against the Brooklyn Aviators, the worst-ranked team in the league, that put the Apple Corps in this position, as the Rebels are guilty of an offside call. These teams played in the season's 2nd game back in November here in Dix Hills, a game we were not able to webcast. The Rebels won that game 8-4, but many of the Apple Corps parents afterwards for weeks were saying that that was the best game the Apple Corps played. Rebels have it in the offensive zone. A backhander goes wide. Chris Biava chases it down in the corner, and it goes through Will Tricorico, and Chris Biava goes back to cover up for the Rebels. Apple Corps smart not to expend unnecessary energy, as they don't have a lot to spend with only 8 skaters, though we might see Charlie Della Penna. Here's a shot from Biava that I think Blake Richard got a piece of. And on a delayed offside, the Apple Corps were able to clear the zone. Tipped by Stephen Mount makes the play onside. And so back forward is, well, I think the puck ended up in Christopher's glove, and he gloved it. So the Apple Corps will get the benefit of an offensive zone draw coming here. Down 1-0 on a power play goal by Chris Duffy. Quite a few of the Apple Corps players not here in uniform, including Brendan Murphy and Connor Brooks, who now play for the Westchester Express. Spencer Abrams is sick. The Sullivan boys are not in uniform. Nor is Charlie Della Penna, though we might still see him. And Ian Tum not in uniform either. Blake Richard in goal tonight. Here's a shot from the Rebels that's stopped by Richard. Gavin Golisano spins it up the right side, and the Apple Corps look to break out with Jack Caiola, unable to catch up to that lead pass, and so it's played back in by the Rebels. Aiden Rossi back as Colin McGraw plays it away. Gavin Golisano. Stephen Mount forced an over and back, and so there should be a face-off coming here in the neutral zone with 5:28 to go here in the first period. Apple Corps hanging in there despite the numbers disadvantage. We'll see how long that lasts, but this was a scrappy team during the regular season. They played some decent games against some good teams. Beat the Westchester Vipers twice. That certainly helped. The Apple Corps, by virtue of that win in Brooklyn, finished 1 point ahead of the Freeport Arrows, to whom they lost twice. And had the Apple Corps ended up in a tie, the Vipers would have ended up winning that tie break. But the win against the Aviators has put them in this interesting and unique position. This is Will Tricorico now sending it down. Icing waved off as Golisano goes down after it with Aiden Rossi of the Rebels. A centering pass, Colin McGraw there to pick it up. And Jack Lagan has it. You know, this game has to mean a little something extra to Lagan, since this was the team against whom he got hurt. As the Apple Corps try to change, they can't make a wholesale change. They don't have enough players to make a wholesale change. And the puck sent out to center ice, where it's poked away from Colin McGraw, but McGraw will go back after it. Dylan Vigna there. There's Aiden Harpazumi in there to play it down low. Stephen Mount, though, comes away with the puck. Tough season for Stephen Mount and the Carmel Rams. They finished 4-15-1 this season. In fact, most of the players on this team, talented though they are, played on high school teams that finished pretty poorly. The Sullivans played for Iona Prep, who finished 2-16. Spencer Abrams and Colin McGraw played for the Bethel Brookfield Danbury Ice Cats in Connecticut. They finished 6-13-1. And yet this Apple Corps Tier 2 team was pretty competitive during the half season from September to November. There's Josh Plotkin for the Rebels, starting up the right side and playing it down from the offensive end of the red line. The puck sat off the side of the net, took a funny bounce, played by the Apple Corps out of the zone. Gavin Golisano, Jack Caiola into the offensive end. The Wooster School, from what we could tell, came the closest to a 500 record playing a JV schedule. They finished 5-6 and actually won their last 3. And had 4 games canceled due to weather. But not a very successful season from a win-loss standpoint. Here comes Pasquale Fada with a shot from the right circle. It ends up on the stick of Kaiola, and his shot, he scores! Jack Kaiola was able to settle that puck down and slip it past the glove of Chris Stoffers, and the Apple Corps have tied the game at 1. 7th goal of the year for Jack Kaiola. Pasquale Fata earns an assist, his 3rd of the season. And look at here with just, I think Charlie Della Penna may be joining this team, but they have had 8 skaters to this point, and they still lead it. They still have a tie game here. Here's Chris Duffy with a shot that's stopped by Richard. Ends up on the left wing for Drew O'Connor. Now Francesco Coppola behind the net, looks for some room. Centered it through the goal mouth. Duffy tries to come around and wrap it around, and he did. I don't think Blake Richard caught that in time. Let's see. Did he? Did Blake Richard catch that in time? He did! Blake Richard comes around the net, what looked like a wide open net for Chris Duffy. Can't believe that didn't go in. But Blake Richard was up to it and stopped it. How about that? And so we have an offensive zone draw for the Rebels with 2.5 to go in the period. How about this Apple Corps team, huh? They are staying in it, at least for now. Here's Duffy with a shot that's stopped by Richard, and Balisano plays it away from the middle. But the Rebels starting to get the measure here. It took some heroics from Richard to keep this a 1-1 game. Let's see what happens. And there'll be a penalty coming here to the Rebels as Golisano was taken down. And so now the Apple Corps will get a power play out of this. And Charlie Della Penna makes his first appearance for the Apple Corps with 2 minutes left in the first period. The traffic getting out here from the Connecticut and northern Westchester and Putnam areas was horrendous. So now the Apple Corps with 9 players. Here's Jack Kaiola playing it down on the power play, and Chris Stoffers will settle it down, and the faceoff will be in the Rebel zone. So a penalty to Drew O'Connor will basically take us to the end of the period if the Apple Corps don't score here. Jack Kaiola with the goal for the Apple Corps. It is 1-1 as Colin McGraw has to chase it back into the neutral zone. Almost turned it over to Dylan Vigna, but Jack Kaiola will play it down into the Rebel zone, and Will Tricorico picks it up and fires it down. Gavin Golisano goes back for the Apple Corps, dumps Dylan Vigna for his own pleasure. Aiden Harpazumian, though, keeps it in the Apple Corps end with the Apple Corps on the power play. This is Della Penna of Fox Lane High School playing it beyond the reach of Golisano, and Aiden Harpazumian can't catch up to it. At least the Apple Corps clear it out with 1:18 to go on their power play. The penalty kill for the Rebels here has been pretty good here to start, and it's the Apple Corps playing it desperately out into center ice. Josh Plotkin will play it off of Robert Paradiso, and now it's Harpazumian on the right side. Stops and looks for some help, but it's cleared out by the Apple Corps, who really just need to get to the break. The Apple Corps are playing this like they just need to get to the break. With only 9 skaters out there, they look gassed. But they're still in this. It's 1-1. Tim Duffy with a power play goal. Ryan Matthews keeps it alive and gets met there by McGraw. 27 seconds to go in the period. And remember, this is a travel game, not a high school game, so I don't think they cut the ice. They might after the second period. That seems to be a way here in New York. But they're certainly not going to cut it now as the Rebels play it down, and Ryan Matthews gets there first for the Rebels, who are shorthanded. The power play expires. The Apple Corps barely had any ozone time on it, and the period expires as well. But Jack Kaiola with a goal for the Apple Corps, and this game is tied at 1.